She was the Virgin Queen, pure, perfect, untouchable, a symbol of England's glory, her image radiating power and divine grace across a tumultuous realm. But what if I told you that behind that serene powdered face and the weight of that golden crown, Elizabeth harbored secrets so profound, so deeply unsettling, that they would compel you to question everything you thought you knew about her majestic reign? This is not the idealized, magnificent queen etched into history books. This is the real Elizabeth I, a woman constantly struggling, trapped inside her own carefully constructed perfume cloud, living within grand, yet paradoxically filthy, palaces that reeked of human waste and unspoken decay. Her body, the very vessel of her power, was slowly rotting from within, a hidden testament to the brutal realities of her era. Before we dive into these shocking truths, help us uncover more of history's dirtiest secrets. Hit that subscribe button right now and give this video a solid like. Your support fuels our mission to dig deeper, because the very last secret we reveal will truly make your stomach churn. Imagine a powerful queen who harbored a paralyzing fear of water, believing it a conduit for deadly disease. Picture a ruler whose teeth turned a horrifying shade of black from an insatiable addiction to sugar, eventually crumbling away. Envision a monarch whose supposedly flawless pale skin slowly peeled and festered, ravaged by the deadly makeup she applied daily. Her legendary, pristine image in portraits was not effortless, natural beauty. It was a meticulously constructed lie, a brutal, agonizing daily fight waged against her own deteriorating body, a silent war fought for the sake of her crown. To genuinely understand Elizabeth's darkest truths, we must first immerse ourselves in the stark and unforgiving world she inhabited. She ruled England from 1558 to 1603, a pivotal period of immense change, violent upheaval, and constant looming danger. The stakes were impossibly high. Monarchs in this age were seen as almost divine figures, chosen by God to rule. Their physical person was intertwined with the state. Elizabeth, acutely aware of this, had to project an unwavering image of strength, purity, and flawless control. Her mother, Anne Boleyn, was controversially executed, casting a long, dark shadow over her legitimacy. Her claim to the throne was frequently questioned by rivals. This constant scrutiny made her profoundly aware that any sign of weakness could unravel everything. She learned early, through bitter experience, that appearances were everything. England was a vulnerable Protestant nation, surrounded by powerful Catholic enemies. The colossal Spanish Armada loomed as an existential threat. In this climate, Elizabeth needed to be seen as an indestructible, stable, and utterly flawless leader. Her very survival, and that of England, depended on it. She meticulously crafted her public image. Official portraits, carefully overseen, always showed her with smooth, impossibly pale skin, vibrant jewels, and an almost ethereal glow. She was often depicted as Astrea, the Roman goddess of justice, embodying a new golden age for England. This cultivated image became known as the cult of Gloriana, a powerful and enduring myth. It was a potent propaganda tool designed to unite a deeply divided nation, inspiring loyalty and projecting an image of invincibility. The Queen, in this grand illusion, had to be more than human. She had to be a perfect, godlike ideal, a constant source of inspiration and stability. But behind the gilded cage of monarchy, Elizabeth was ultimately a mortal woman. She was susceptible to the same frailties as her lowliest subjects, facing many unique, often agonizing burdens. The 16th century was a harsh, brutal world, utterly lacking in modern comforts or medical understanding. Medical science was in its infancy, a strange blend of superstition and rudimentary observation. People widely believed in humors and miasmas, putrid smells thought to cause deadly disease. Disease was a constant, terrifying threat. Hygiene, as we understand it, simply did not exist. Elizabeth's long reign was punctuated by terrifying outbreaks of plague and other deadly sicknesses. Her fears about contagion were not irrational. They were very real and incredibly strong, deeply influencing her daily life. Her palaces, though grand and beautiful from the outside, profoundly lacked basic sanitation. Life, for even the wealthiest, was far from clean. This stark, unsanitary reality was the pervasive backdrop for Elizabeth's shocking, secret life. She lived in a constant, hidden battle against her own decaying body, limited medical knowledge, and the pervasive filth of her era. The stories you are about to hear reveal a vastly different side of the Virgin Queen. A side that was raw, deeply human, often repulsive, and tragically vulnerable. Her seemingly vain decisions about her appearance were not just about vanity. They were, in a very real sense, about survival. They were about maintaining her iron grip on power in a brutal, unforgiving, and deeply misogynistic world that constantly sought to undermine her. The contrast between her pristine public image and her grimy, painful private reality is utterly stark. It powerfully reveals the immense, suffocating pressure she faced as a female ruler. She had to appear eternally strong, impossibly pure, and timelessly eternal, a goddess among mortals. But the physical cost of maintaining this grand illusion was immense, a burden that slowly, agonizingly poisoned her from within. It isolated her, separating her from human intimacy and compassion. It made her personal life far more challenging than any sanitized history book usually dares to reveal. Her story is a deep dive into the profound human cost of absolute power. It powerfully shows how even a queen, worshipped as a living goddess, could still be trapped by the inescapable realities of her own fragile flesh and the biological processes of life and decay. Let's begin with the first secret, a seemingly innocent habit born of luxury that slowly and painfully destroyed her smile, transforming it into a gaping horror. In the 1500s, sugar was far more than just a sweet treat. It was an extraordinary luxury, a rare commodity screaming of extreme wealth, vast trade networks, and stratospheric social status. It came from far-off, exotic lands, commanding astronomical sums. Only the very richest could afford it regularly. For Queen Elizabeth I, sugar quickly became a deep, all-consuming addiction. She consumed it in truly vast, almost unimaginable quantities. Her daily diet was literally saturated with sugar, candied fruits, rich marzipan, syrupy pastries. Sugar was a constant, dominant presence at her elaborate banquets, adorning every course. But this pervasive sweet addiction came with a terrible, horrifying price. Her teeth, once likely healthy, began a slow, agonizing descent into decay. They turned a ghastly black, cracked, and slowly, one by painful one, started falling out. It was a visible, undeniable sign of her indulgence. The decay was so severe that by her later years, her mouth was described as a gaping darkness, a ruined landscape of broken teeth and missing gaps. Visitors and foreign ambassadors frequently noted her black teeth in their dispatches, a disturbing, unavoidable detail. Her breath became notoriously foul, a sickening mix of decaying food and rotten tissue. Courtiers, forced to stand close, struggled to maintain polite expressions, subtly turning their heads or holding scented handkerchiefs to their noses. This royal stench was a well-known, whispered truth. Yet despite pain and odor, Elizabeth adamantly refused doctors. She feared the excruciating pain of primitive treatments, but more profoundly, she feared showing weakness. A divine monarch could not appear vulnerable or less than perfect, even if her rotting teeth told a grim story. Her attempted oral hygiene solution was, ironically, part of the problem. Her royal toothpaste was a strange, ineffective mix of sugar, yes, sugar again, and various herbs. This abrasive, sugary mixture did little to clean and contributed significantly to their rapid deterioration. She was, in essence, polishing her teeth with the very substance destroying them. It was a vicious, self-perpetuating cycle of addiction and decay, hidden behind a regal but horrifying smile. Here is where Elizabeth's story takes a bizarre turn, illustrating her profound influence. The women of her court, in a strange act of loyalty, perverse fashion, and perhaps desire for royal favor, began to copy her. They imitated her black, rotten teeth. They smeared soot, charcoal, and dark substances on their own healthy teeth to achieve the same decayed look. It was a grotesque, unsettling fashion statement, a chilling tribute to their decaying monarch. This trend speaks volumes about the lengths people would go to mimic power. In Elizabeth's peculiar world, decay meant power. It meant extreme wealth. The blacker your smile, the richer and more connected you were perceived to be. It was a bizarre twist of status symbolism, a complete inversion of modern ideas of beauty. This widespread practice vividly shows how deeply Elizabeth's personal habits, even her physical ailments, influenced her entire court. Her body, even in agonizing decay, became a model to be followed. A strange, new, and rather horrifying definition of beauty emerged from the rot. Her addiction to sugar also speaks to a deeper need for pleasure, a small, controlled indulgence. For a queen who sacrificed personal relationships and motherhood for her crown, sweet treats might have been a small, constant comfort, a fleeting escape from duty. The profound irony is that sugar, a dazzling symbol of luxury, became an agent of slow, painful decay, eroding her health and creating a terrifying visual reminder of her mortality, even as she tried to project eternal perfection. Despite persistent pain and discomfort, Elizabeth clung fiercely to her sugary habit. It was a small, personal rebellion against the crushing pressures of her royal role. Her rotten smile, a deeply unsettling secret, was carefully hidden from official portraits, but it was a stark, undeniable truth known to everyone who stood close enough to their queen, a hidden filth behind the golden illusion of Gloriana. In 16th century England, ideas about hygiene were vastly different. People believed water, particularly hot water, could open skin pores, allowing deadly bad air or miasmas, disease-carrying smells, to easily enter the body. This was widely believed to cause serious, often fatal illnesses like the plague. Queen Elizabeth I, like many contemporaries, shared these fears. She viewed water, especially for bathing, with deep suspicion and alarm. For her, bathing was a dangerous risk to her health, potentially her life. As a direct result, she rarely, if ever, bathed in the modern sense. Months could pass without water touching her regal skin. This was common for many wealthy people of the era. Instead, she relied heavily on changing her underclothes. She believed clean linen had an almost magical power, somehow pulling dirt out of her body. Her laundresses constantly prepared fresh shifts and chemises to absorb sweat, body oils, and accumulated grime, providing a temporary superficial feeling of freshness. Her maids would also meticulously wipe her body with cloths soaked in rose water or fragrant vinegar. This elaborate daily ritual was less about thorough cleaning and more about masking existing body odors, a cosmetic performance of freshness. These practices created a fragile illusion of purity, but beneath the scented surface, her skin accumulated layers of old sweat, sticky body oils, and the heavy, insidious lead dust from her toxic makeup, creating hidden grime and irritation. A real bath for the queen, a true immersion in water, was an extremely rare and highly ceremonial event. It involved an elaborate setup, a huge wooden tub, often lined with soft linen, brought into her chambers. Dozens of buckets of carefully warmed water were laboriously carried in by servants. A large team of trusted servants were intimately involved, their movements precise. Elizabeth herself often observed her reflection, as if checking for any subtle sign of imperfection during this vulnerable moment. The water was often mixed with fragrant herbs and sweet-smelling flowers, transforming the practical act of washing into a symbolic ritual. But even then, the cleaning was not thorough or hygienic by today's standards. It was a surface-level rinse, not a deep scrub. Under the many layers of silk, velvet, and heavy court attire, her skin would itch constantly. The mixture of old sweat, natural body oils, and irritating makeup created persistent discomfort. To Elizabeth, soap was not a symbol of cleanliness, but a potential danger, a harsh chemical to be avoided. She believed it could strip away her skin's delicate, protective layer, leaving her vulnerable. This profound fear of water extended beyond personal hygiene. It became intertwined with her royal mystique and political identity. She believed that water could symbolically wash away not just dirt, but also her royal power itself, diminishing her sacred authority. Her physical body was inextricably intertwined with her political identity. Any perceived weakness or vulnerability in her physical form could be interpreted by enemies as a weakness in her absolute rule. Her deep reluctance to bathe was a secret closely guarded by her inner circle. It added to the aura of her uniqueness, her untouchable status. She was a queen, beyond the common rituals of daily life, almost ethereal. This ingrained habit vividly highlights the stark differences in hygiene standards across history. What we consider basic cleanliness was then often seen as a potential life-threatening risk. Elizabeth's fear of water was not some eccentric quirk. It was deeply rooted in the limited medical understanding and pervasive anxieties of her time. It was a rational fear for a queen who lived in constant danger of illness, disfigurement, and death. So while her public image was one of pristine purity, her private reality was far more complex, much grimier, and deeply human. She was a powerful woman who navigated a dirty, dangerous world, armed with perfumes and fresh linen, but always wary of the potentially deadly embrace of water. Queen Elizabeth I was justly famous for her pale, almost ghostly white face. It was depicted as flawless unnaturally smooth and almost divine in its ethereal appearance. This iconic look, however, was no accident of natural beauty. It was a meticulously crafted, painstakingly applied mask. This mask, far from being a natural cosmetic, was composed of sheer poison. Elizabeth regularly coated her face, neck, and chest in a thick, opaque paste known as Venetian ceruse. This fashionable white powder, prized for its luminous pallor, was in fact highly toxic. Venetian ceruse was made from a potent and dangerous mixture of white lead and vinegar. Applied generously, sometimes in multiple layers, it created that striking, ghostly pale complexion, the ultimate aristocratic beauty statement. But this supposed beauty treatment was a slow, insidious killer. The heavy lead in the ceruse gradually seeped into her skin, causing horrible open sores, painful blisters, and constantly irritated patches. Her skin, beneath the heavy makeup, became raw, damaged, and perpetually suffering. To hide these painful and unsightly imperfections, Elizabeth would simply apply even more layers of the deadly white paste, creating a thicker, more impenetrable mask. It was a desperate, self-defeating cycle of concealment and further, deeper damage. For her lips, she used another dangerous substance, mercury. This highly toxic liquid metal, often mixed with plants, gave her lips a vibrant, alluring red color. But it had severe, systemic side effects. The absorbed mercury caused her hands to shake uncontrollably. Her mind would sometimes fade, leading to moments of confusion and memory problems. These were clear signs of heavy metal poisoning affecting her brain and nervous system, slowly eroding her cognitive abilities. The longer she ruled, the sicker she became, her body absorbing more of these deadly compounds. Yet, caught in the trap of her own image, she felt she could not stop using them. Her public persona demanded this sacrifice. Her face was no longer just her personal countenance, it was England's symbol, a living emblem of her rule's strength and stability. Any visible flaw could be interpreted as a fatal flaw in the monarchy itself, a sign of weakness. Painters were strictly forbidden from capturing her true, aging features. They were instructed to depict her as eternally youthful, impossibly beautiful, and perfectly serene. The aging queen needed to appear timeless and untouched. Her royal chambers were often lit only by candles. This muted illumination helped hide the cracks, blemishes, and unevenness in her thick mask of makeup. Harsh sunlight would have cruelly revealed too many imperfections. The natural aging process, combined with the relentless effects of the lead and mercury, took an unimaginable toll. By the very end of her life, her face was described as a crumbling shell, a cracked facade barely holding together. It was a testament to suffering. It was, quite literally, a mask of beauty that was slowly but surely eating the woman alive beneath it. Her political necessity to maintain a perfect image forced her to endure this agonizing destruction, a self-imposed martyrdom. The psychological impact must have been immense, constant, nagging terror. To know that the very thing making you beautiful and powerful was slowly destroying you, and to live in perpetual fear of the mask shattering must have been utterly terrifying. Her makeup was more than just a cosmetic. It was a potent shield, a powerful political statement, and a slow-acting poison. It was a tragic, painful secret, a profound and agonizing sacrifice made willingly for her cherished crown. Her public image became a powerful, pervasive form of propaganda, a carefully managed illusion of perfection. The entire court, complicit in this grand deception, colluded tirelessly, protecting the Queen's illusion at all costs. The Venetian ceruse, while making her skin appear smooth and pristine white, concealed a gruesome reality. Beneath it, her flesh was scarred, inflamed, and often weeping. It was a hidden battle, fought daily on her own face, a silent, personal suffering endured for the sake of England. This deadly beauty regimen shows the extreme, almost incomprehensible lengths Elizabeth went to uphold her royal image. It was an incredibly heavy price to pay for the illusion of godlike perfection, a true testament to her iron will and immense burden. Elizabeth's world was a relentless sensory assault. It didn't just smell faintly, it reeked perpetually of rot, thinly covered in the artificial sweetness of roses and other perfumes. The pervasive lack of basic hygiene meant strong, deeply unpleasant odors were everywhere, saturating the very air from unwashed bodies, stagnant waste, animal droppings, and rotting food. To combat this constant, overwhelming stench, Elizabeth surrounded herself with an array of perfumes and fragrant items. She meticulously created a personal bubble of scent, a fragrant barrier. Her entire court was steeped in fragrances. Scented gloves were highly fashionable, often held close to the nose. Flower oils were dabbed on clothing, hair, and skin. Her handmaids meticulously dabbed her skin with lavender water and fragrant vinegar throughout the day. Temporary fixes, superficial attempts at freshness, not true cleaning. Elizabeth also frequently carried pomanders, exquisitely crafted, often jewel-encrusted silver or gold balls filled with aromatic herbs and spices. She would press them subtly to her nose, blocking out the stench of her crowded court. These were essential tools for survival, literally enabling her to breathe without being overcome by nausea. Her famous fiery red wigs were heavily powdered. This wasn't solely for fashion. The powder helped hide grease, dirt, and her own thinning hair, creating an illusion of a fresh, clean appearance. Her skin, already suffering beneath the toxic ceruse, was also heavily powdered to conceal sores and blemishes, maintaining the precious illusion of perfection. Every breath taken near the Queen was heavily perfumed, a heady mix of artificial scents. But these perfumes, too, were often toxic, containing strong chemicals that could cause irritation. The air in her private chambers was thick, almost cloying, with these scents mingling with the underlying odors they desperately meant to hide, a constant battle of smells. Servants, even her most trusted attendants, were rarely allowed to see her real body, stripped of its layers of clothes and makeup. Her physical imperfections, the sores, the aging, the decay, were a closely guarded secret, known only to a very few intimate attendants. One maid had a unique and specific job: to secretly powder the Queen's shoulders and upper body, even in areas not typically seen in public, maintaining the illusion of unblemished purity. The shame of her deteriorating body, the fear of revealing her imperfections, was profound. Even mirrors were reportedly banned from her most private rooms in her later years. Elizabeth rarely, if ever, saw her own true reflection, preferring the idealized, timeless image created by her painters. The mirror, a cruel revealer of truth, might expose the monster she feared she had become. This elaborate system of cover-ups and deception profoundly shows the immense lengths Elizabeth went to maintain her image, her Gloriana myth. It was a full-time performance, a constant, exhausting effort to hide the grim physical realities from her court, her subjects, and even from herself. The scents and powders were more than just cosmetics or air fresheners. They were a vital psychological barrier, a protective cocoon, shielding the queen from the harsh reality of her own physical decline and the pervasive filth of her world. Her dedication to this illusion, this grand theatrical performance, was unwavering, a testament to her iron will. She ingeniously transformed her physical vulnerabilities into a spectacle of untouchable majesty. But beneath the glorious perfumes and layers of powder, behind the shimmering silks and rich velvets, lay a secret, uncomfortable world of constant physical discomfort, hidden decay, and pervasive grime. A queen who fought her own body with smoke and scent rather than the cleansing power of soap and water. Behind all the dazzling gold, the luxurious velvet, and the intricate tapestries that adorned Elizabeth's lavish palaces, there lay a deeply, unbelievably filthy secret. The grand halls and the sprawling courtyards, and even the Queen's most private chambers, concealed a shocking, pervasive truth about daily life in Tudor England. There were no modern toilets, no flush systems, no intricate plumbing to carry away human waste. Instead, people, even the highest nobility, used simple ceramic pots, often beautifully crafted and hidden discreetly inside cushioned, upholstered chairs. These were called chamber pots, a ubiquitous part of daily life. When Queen Elizabeth herself needed to relieve herself, she used such a chamber pot. The contents, a deeply intimate and unpleasant reality, would then be emptied by hand by an astonishingly important person, the groom of the stool. His full-time, highly intimate job was to attend to the Queen's most private and basic needs, carrying and cleaning her chamber pot, ensuring her absolute privacy. This role, despite its nature, was a sign of immense trust, unparalleled access, and profound closeness to the monarch, making him a powerful figure. For the vast multitude of courtiers and servants, the system was even more unsanitary. They used simple buckets and bowls, often in designated corners or outside. The contents were then unceremoniously dumped into open cesspits beneath the palace floors, or simply thrown into shallow trenches outside the walls. The sheer, overwhelming volume of human waste created a constant, pervasive, and utterly overwhelming stench. The air inside the palaces was thick and heavy, not just with perfumes, but with the cloying smell of human rot, decomposition, and stale urine. It mingled sickeningly with the perfumes and incense burned in futile attempts to mask it, creating a truly unique and repulsive atmosphere. To further mask this terrible odor, herbs were burned and fragrant flowers scattered liberally on the floors, along with layers of sweet-smelling rushes. But these valiant efforts were often futile, merely layering one smell atop another. The rushes, meant to absorb smells and spills, ironically only trapped more filth, creating breeding grounds for bacteria and insects. The problem only worsened. When the stench in one palace became truly unbearable, the Queen did not order a massive deep clean. Instead, with immense pomp and logistics, she simply moved her entire court to another royal residence. This was the royal solution to sanitation problems: escape rather than clean, an incredibly costly, elaborate, and logistically complex way to avoid confronting the deep-seated filth. This constant movement was a routine part of royal life, driven as much by sanitation as by pleasure. So, while the surfaces were adorned with glittering gold, rich velvet, and precious jewels, beneath them lay an unimaginable reality of sewage, grime, and pervasive filth. It was a kingdom of perfume and decay, a duality of splendor and squalor, and Elizabeth ruled over it all, literally presiding over this mixture of beauty and rot. She was, in a strange and grotesque way, the goddess of this rot, the queen presiding over a kingdom steeped in contradiction. Her personal decisions, from her insatiable sugar addiction to her profound fear of water, were inextricably intertwined with this filthy reality that defined her daily existence. The stark contrast between the outward splendor and the inner, hidden filth is truly astonishing. It reveals a grimy truth about life in Tudor England, often omitted from romanticized accounts. Even for a powerful queen, life was not always grand, clean, or comfortable. The intimate, often disgusting job of the groom of the stool is a vivid, unforgettable reminder of the intimate, unpleasant realities of royal power. It powerfully shows how personal service could be both privileged and utterly degrading, holding immense influence while performing the most basic, unglamorous tasks. Elizabeth's reign was undoubtedly a time of grand accomplishments, but it was also a time when human waste was a daily, unavoidable, and deeply integrated part of royal life. A truly filthy secret, literally hidden beneath the golden throne itself. Could you truly survive in this world of overwhelming filth and cloying perfume where disease lurked in every corner? Imagine the daily struggle, the constant assault on your senses. What time are you watching this, day or night? Let us know in the comments below and tell us which ruler's secret we should uncover next. This was not hygiene as we know it today. It was a brutal, elaborate dance between illusion and reality. A royal illusion painstakingly built on fear, vanity, and slow-acting poison. Elizabeth didn't just hide her dirt. She transformed it. She ingeniously turned her physical imperfections and the pervasive filth of her world into undeniable elements of her power, a part of her mystique. Her black, rotting teeth, her profound aversion to water, her toxic, skin-eating makeup, her meticulously crafted perfumed bubble, and the stinking palaces she commanded, these were not just personal habits or unfortunate realities. They were the very fabric of her survival, the unspoken foundations of her rule. They were the hidden, agonizing costs of her legendary and glorious reign. If this journey into the dark truths behind England's Virgin Queen has truly shocked and surprised you, don't keep these unsettling secrets to yourself. Hit that subscribe button right now. Join our growing community of story enthusiasts as we continue to dig deeper, unearthing more of history's darkest, grittiest corners. And remember this profound truth. Sometimes, behind the cleanest crown, behind the most perfect, carefully constructed image, lies the filthiest, most unsettling, and often most fascinating truth. These stories remind us that history is often far more complex, far dirtier, and infinitely more human than we are often led to believe. So subscribe and like this video, because there are countless more untold stories, more hidden secrets waiting to be unearthed, and trust me, you won't want to miss them.